Hello and welcome to another edition of Mailbag. What is Mailbag? Well, Mailbag is a feature of the channel where you guys leave lots of comments on the channel and I attempt to answer those comments, or if I can't answer those comments, I throw it out to you guys who have more knowledge on some of this stuff than I do. So let's get into the first mailbag of this session. Remember, like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Go over to Instagram and follow me there. Go over to Facebook, follow me there. That's where the normal notices are. And consider becoming a Patreon. So this next comment or question comes from Rainfeather. And this is in response to Death of the Kronos, a video I did in December 2021. And Rainfeather writes, Workstations did have the benefit for being crafted solely for the purpose, but deskware has leapt huge gulfs, whilst this area has been nigh abandoned comparatively by Korg for over a decade. The Workstation ops mod wave detail of some of their thinking, I hope, rather than toy boards with less keys, should be realised that tactile access and hands-on plus or minus modulation, like the Chaos, to add lots to it, is a way of keeping hardware relevant. Without it, computer power becomes far too tempting. In the market for both cost and enhancement, we have kept a large price workstation relevant for its lifespan, at a time when tech is redundant when it hits the ground. Having true hands-on function and build quality matters, which is why, despite questions of tone and work demand, Hydrasynth is in its particular market is flying out the door, and has dropped the deluxe with more octaves, and that sold out in mere weeks. I think keeping a workstation current is a difficult job. Roland have been equally guilty of doing this, releasing product, supporting for a short period of time, and then effectively moving on. And this could be the fact that computer power has moved on. But at least the Phantom platform appears to be getting expansions at the moment. And I can't comment on the Hydrasynth stuff. I've seen a lot of videos on Hydrasynth. I've taken on board what you've said. I've taken on board what some of the commentators have said. Sonic State really seemed to love Hydrasynth when they did their review of it. But I have very little experience to it. It's one of those ones where I think I need to go and spend some time in the toy shop, and it's something I've sadly lacked doing in the last 2 years. But anyway, in some ways, Rainfeather says, things haven't gone as far as they should. But that's the cynic's version, looking back on the old 2000 era workstations and failing to appreciate how really great they were. And this is something that people really don't understand. It's something, the reason why this channel exists really is about this sort of legacy stuff. I'm looking at this. I mean, this is a 10-year-old synth. This is a 30-year-old synth. This is a 30-year-old synth. But how great were they? Well, actually, as synthesizers, they were pretty damn good. These were workstations, but workstations like the Triton, which Rainfeather goes on to say, my Triton is still a match for anything today. Not always in tech, obviously, but in sound and sonic output, certainly. Should it be that way? Well, on one hand, there aren't ever going to be a large gulfs in what we want to hear, rather how it's applied and what we can now do with it. This is very true. Sonically, these things are still really great, but they're not. They can be more raw. I think is probably what I would say about this. These can be more raw than something that's really crafted like this. On the other hand, that lends to the issue we've rolled over already, that the cost versus value becomes skewed. Look at Nautilus. I love Korg, and clearly it's not so much an improved Kronos as a fresh plane. But for the price, seriously, it's simply not enough of a leap forward, which is probably my view. So for pre-existing users like myself, we are barely in the market, which is a little sad, given that this is meant to be the next evolution. Hence, I would hope for a new flagship would be a proper leap forward over what Kronos was. But will it be? Or have we reached the end? Korg are being very tight-lipped, I must admit. There's very little coming out of Korg about what potentially might be next. Where software and some new cheap controller options plugins offer just as much, without the need to crack into £5,000 worth of savings. It's difficult for sure. Hydrosynth really has shown that there is a traction in things like polyphonic aftertouch and streaming direct control, some actual hands-on to steer you away from the nigh endless computer screens. I prefer that, but I also know that for many the future is a hybrid of both, further cementing the notion the workstation years may be slipping in favour of PCs with plugins. I do hope that is not the case. Don't get me wrong, I'll always buy the flagship workstations if they are and have the feel, because I grew up on them. But I doubt my personal interest will keep them alive and the digital recreations leap from update to update, building a new flagship and selling a few thousand, versus millions of sales to bedroom users that will plug in their wave state into their laptop. Well, pretty obviously, what market would you say to that? Oh, so probably pretty obvious what marketing would say to that, yeah. Now, I agree that the Nautilus doesn't really move the concept forward enough to justify the cost of the keyboard. If I were going to move from this to a Nautilus, the Nautilus would have to do a damn sight more than it currently does to persuade me that to move from this as my main go-to keyboard when doing stuff. I do wonder whether the Phantom O concept is how the workstation will develop. I've got to be honest, I'm really intrigued about that. Where the workstation and computer has become something of a symbiont relationship. Yes, software has moved on leaps and bounds. There's no denying that. I mean, you go and look at some of these software products and the emulation. I mean, the rolling cloud stuff, which I do have. I have quite a few of the. I don't use them. I tend to use them, but I do have the rolling cloud subscription, predominantly for the System 8, the Jupiter X. I have to be honest, but the VSTs that rolling on the rolling cloud are pretty damn good. But making music inside a computer really is not making music for me. It's more about programming using a formula. People watch the channel know I use VSTs, but I'm not a fan of them. I view them as a tool. I always view keyboards in the same way. But I will always go to a keyboard, not go to a computer to produce music.